What percent of customers don't tip? What percent of orders are 2 miles or less? How low does the minimum offer that you accept really have to be in order to become a top dasher? Well, in this video, I'll answer those questions and more, exposing the real numbers behind DoorDash Driver Offers, with the proof of almost 10,000 orders I've taken through the last 6 months of 2021 that were all tracked by Driver's Utility Helper. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video if you want to find out how you can use this information to help you dash more optimally in 2022, whether that be with cherry picking or on your way to becoming a top dasher. Before I get into it, I'm John Dash, this is Dash Theory TV, and be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And with that being said, let's jump right into it. So first off, I gotta give a couple mandatory disclaimers. Number one, I'm in the Phoenix, Arizona market, so your market may be different. Number two, so for the first half of the year, I was using the full payout hacks, whether that be the 2 phones hack or having power. Since that information is kind of skewed with having full payout, it doesn't really match what drivers see nowadays. So that's why I'm only using the last 6 months of 2021. And number three, I would use the more current data like the month of January 2022 or even the last couple weeks of February this year. But unfortunately, Driver's Utility Helper doesn't currently allow me to access that information. So here's all of the numbers and all of the data from Driver's Utility Helper dumped into a Google spreadsheet. Now, I would show you the whole process of pulling the stats, organizing it, etc. But honestly, it's kind of boring. So I'm going to kind of scroll and show you some of the numbers, but I'm really going to talk through what I found when I did my research. So for all the offers that I received in the last half of the year, the average dollars per mile on the offer was $1.39 per mile. Now, about 60% of the offers were $1 per mile or more, and all of those offers averaged together were $1.83 per mile. Now, when it came to look at the orders that I would take if I was a cherry picker, so those were all of the offers that were $2 per mile or more, that only came to about 16% of the offers. So if you consider yourself a cherry picker, you should accept your acceptance rate to average around 16%. And when I put all those offers together, the average was considerably higher at $2.97 per mile. Now, when I swapped over to look at average offer distance, when I looked at all the data together, the average distance for all these offers put together was 5.91 miles. Once again, looking at the data for cherry pickers first, all the offers that were 2 miles or less, that only amounted to 7% of offers. On average, all those cherry picked offers were about 1.5 miles in distance, $4.89 on the average offer, and about $3.30 per mile. Now, when I finally bump that up to 6 miles, that's when I find the majority of the offers are actually 6 miles or less, coming in at about 62% of all the offers for the last 6 months. And last but not least, for the big picture, how much were the average offer for the last 6 months? Well, in my market, it was about $6.59 per offer, with the majority of offers being $6 or higher at about 53%. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, I wanted to look at what percent of customers don't tip. I mean, we all get those no-tip offers. They're annoying, especially when we get bombarded with them. But are they as much as we believe? Well, when I looked at what percent of the offers that I received were $3.50 or less, with $3.50 kind of being my cutoff for no tips, when I pulled the stats, that ended up being about 15% of all the offers that I received. So after looking through all those stats, the question that naturally came up is, what does the top 70% of offers look like? How low does the minimum offer you accept really have to be in order to become a top dasher? Well, if I accepted 100% of all the orders and the top 70% of offers I received, the minimum order amount that I would have to accept to become a top dasher would be anything of $4.75 or higher. But realistically, even if I set those numbers as my minimum, nobody actually accepts 100% of their offers. So I'd probably look at the top 80% of the offers so I can give myself a little bit of wiggle room to decline some orders. So when I bump that up to 80%, $4 would be the minimum offer amount that I would have to accept. Although on average, those offers would be closer to $7.50 an offer. The lowest dollar per mile I would have to accept would be about 75 cents per offer, although those would be on average closer to $1.50 per offer. And lastly, the longest offer that I have to accept would be over 8 miles, but on average, the offers would be around 4.5 miles. So now that I have all this information, how would I use it to help me dash smarter, more profitably, and more optimally in 2022? Well, this month, as I'm on my way to be a top dasher, I'm setting my minimum order amount I accept to about 83 cents per mile, although I'm trying to stay away from that and would only accept that if I'm declining a lot of orders. I'm setting the minimum order amount I accept to $4.50, although I'm hoping those are shorter distance orders. Lastly, I'd be setting the maximum distance that I would travel to complete an order at 7.5 miles, but definitely those would be the worst of the worst, not closer to the average or the only offers that I would accept. On a day-to-day basis, I don't necessarily expect my acceptance acceptance rate to be 70%. I expect some days to be lower. I expect some days to be higher. But I would expect that at the end of the month, my acceptance rate would be right around 70% when I use these parameters. Now, on the other side of the coin, how would I use this information to help me better become a cherry picker? I would set my target acceptance rate to about 16%. From a dollar per mile perspective, I'd probably set my minimum to about $1.50, maybe $1.60 per mile. With the higher amounts likely to go longer distances, I would expect them to fall near that $1.50, although most of the orders I accept would be about $2 per mile or more. The minimum order amount that I would accept would be about $5.50. Those would be kind of the orders that would take to keep me busy, although I'd really be looking for those $6.50 because those are those ones that are potentially have a hidden tip, especially if they're shorter distance. And some of the longer miles or some of the bigger orders, a lot of those are shop and deliver orders like Safeway, Walgreens, CVS, etc. And I would look to do some more of those and make the most money in the least amount of time possible. Once again, this is just in my market in Phoenix, Arizona, but if you're in a big city or in a major market, I would somewhat expect your numbers to be similar or at least not too far off. If you have Driver's Utility Helper, you can pull this data yourself. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see this information for your market, for other markets, for other cities, and see how it matches up. And I know some people have asked me about doing templates, but with how you have to kind of organize the data and resort the data multiple times, that's not really possible. Now, if you want to see how I'm personally using this data to raise my acceptance rate this month and on my path to becoming a top dasher for the month of March, be on the lookout for my next video, which will show me using this information in Driver's Utility Helper to raise my acceptance rate during a lunchtime dash, and that video will be here once it's posted. Now, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, dash optimally.